G'day guys, Caleb from Happy Go Travel. Today in the garage with the Raptor, we are finally sorting out onboard air for this thing. This has been an absolute mission, long time coming. ARB dual compressor, finally got our hands on one. Pirate Camp Co under tub compressor bracket. Got the Pirate Co power panel that'll replace this stock Ford one. Got a heap of switches and things to furnish this, so that'll be done. But we do have the air filter relocation kit, so this just puts the air filters up behind the tail light. A heap of switches, air accessories, braided airline, all the wiring, ARB harness, extended airline for breathers, conduit. You name it, we got it. There's a lot of parts in this. It's not an overly hard job to do. There's just a lot of steps in it. That's probably why we've been putting it on. I will actually have to watch Pirate Camp Co's video because there's a few steps with mounting the compressor. You've actually got to undo this manifold, take that off, spin the mounting brackets, take the mounting brackets off. There's a heap of things that need to happen. A little bit of story time here. I'm going to tell you why I ended up with the Pirate Camp Co brackets to do the compressor. Now, as most of you who follow me would know, we actually installed the ARB kit into Damo's Raptor Ranger. ARB kit, it's pretty good the way it mounts and the way everything goes. That is the kit that I originally ordered. When I ordered my car 12 months ago, ordered the ARB kit, said to the dealer, I said, look, just get the kit, I'll pay for it, I don't care, it can sit there or I'll come pick it up. Yep, we've got it, it's here, don't worry about it, when you get your car, we'll have it for you. Long story short, rocked up to get my car, no kit. Here we are, 4 months later, still no kit. Yelled out to James at Pirate Camp Co, spoke to him about his bracket and where it sits, asked a heap of questions about it. Look, in all honesty, I think I like the idea of the ARB kit sitting up in between the skin of the tub. The reality is though, that this compressor doesn't sit that much lower. I don't really spend that much time in mud or anything like that. Definitely go through water, but with moving the air filters and relocating them, I think there's going to be no issue with how this mounts. The other thought that I have too is I reckon it'll be good comparison because we've done the ARB kit, we've seen the ARB kit. Let's do the Pirate kit and let's compare the two. Let's see how they look, how they work. At the end of the day, I think they're both going to work the same and be as good a quality as each other. One thing I can say is the Pirate bracket, it is stainless steel, it's cool cutouts, plenty of breathing. You know, typical of Pirate Camp Co designs, like just the laser cutting is just unreal, like looks good. It is a shame that this bracket is going to sit under the car and no one will ever see it. The other main reason why I wanted the ARB kit is the wiring harness is actually already perfect length and just designed to plug and play. Doing it this way, I have to actually make the harness myself. There is a harness that comes with the ARB compressor. It's not a hard job. It's literally just extending some power wires. I actually really don't know where to start. I've got two thoughts. I can furnish the panel because that's easy, but reality is I should pull the compressor apart and put the compressor in the bracket and get the compressor set up. Once the compressor is actually in the bracket and set up, it's just a couple of bolts that hold it in place. Running the air line from the back of the power panel back to the compressor, that's just, again, another simple job. And then the air filter relocation as well, that's probably going to be a little bit fiddly, but for the most part, it should be a straightforward install. So, you need to remove this top plate to get the bracket alignment right. So you loosen them bolts so you can spin the, essentially the mounting, the LOE heatsink cradle things. I was hoping we could do it without pulling that off, but we're gonna have to pull that off. Spin the brackets, lock them into place. It's all compressors now mounted. Now all we're gonna do is pull it apart and rebuild the compressor again. We're not gonna get this finished today, but what we're gonna do is we might pull this panel out, we might furnish it, get all the switches in place. Again, really good quality stuff. One thing I can see which I don't quite like is the corners have got gaps in them. So I might just run a bead of silicone down each of them corners. But for the most part, it looks good. Sneaky little Pirate logo tucked up in the corner. These ARB air chucks always get me. I look at them and go, oh, there's no way you would be able to physically disengage that because it sits so flush. It clicks in, the front of it actually comes forward. So then to get it out, you just push it. So you can see that works quite well, quite neat. Profile of it sticks out a tiny bit, but not too bad really. So that's it, fully furnished. I did put a blank switch there. I'll probably end up putting some form of another switch there. But what I've done is SIG, USB, USB-C, and then dual USB-C with a voltmeter, 2 endos. I actually haven't worked out what I'm doing battery-wise, power-wise with the Raptor yet. I've had a fail. The next-gen Ranger and the next-gen Raptor have different brackets. I might have stuffed this up and got the wrong bracket. Already spoke to Pirate Camp Co. They're absolute legends. They're going to swap this over for me. So thank Christ for that. I'm not going to tell you how long I spent underneath this thing trying to figure this out before I realised. Take two, we got the right bracket, we're ready to go. The compressor's already mounted in it. Best thing about the bracket changeover was I didn't have to stuff around changing the compressor around again. We've just mocked up this wiring. With the ARB harness, it's got a heap of wiring on it for one, the ARB switch, two separate sort of circuits to engage solenoids for air lockers. Obviously the Raptor's dual lock, so we don't need that. What I'm thinking is I will just dummy it up just to get it triggered, just to make sure I've got my wiring set up right. And then if all going well, we're just going to cut the majority of that harness out because we won't need it. I have just mocked up the wiring quickly. I've only connected one compressor. All I want to do is just trigger it and make sure it works. That's at the back of the chassis. On the passenger side, you see all them white tabs there, all the wiring for the roof switches. It did take me a minute to remember where they were. This little wiring harness just plugs in as well. So you can actually unclip that to give you some more length to make it easier to work with. So all we're going to do is tap into the compressor wire, get this mocked up, and hopefully with a little bit of luck, we should be able to trigger one of these compressors from the roof switch. The compressor is not earthed, but if I start the car, auxiliary 4 should be the compressor. I've just mocked that switching wire up, so that should have already actuated the relay. Now if I earth this compressor out, it should start. That's not good. Worked it out. So the bung, nothing to worry about. In the manifold, there is a red plug so no shit gets in it because this is not plumbed. So my dodgy wiring setup to the back, that's trigger. I've just left all the wiring loose, roughly wired it so I could test it, and it is a success. So now we know it works. All we're going to do is hard mount the compressor bracket into the back of the ute. We've got to mount the air filters, plumb the air filters, plumb the airline, which is already mounted in the back of the car. We're going to modify the wiring harness. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the harness down here. What you will notice is the gauging a cable I've used. That's the ARB cable. That's the gauging I've used. It's slightly bigger. Realistically, you probably shouldn't be using crimp connectors. You probably should be using lugs. We're just going to heat shrink all these. I've made it so the wires are actually touching each other on the internals of the connector. So it should be all right, but realistically, you probably want to change it all to lugs, being such heavy duty cable. The other thing that's probably worth pointing out as well is single insulated power cable, long way. So putting the fuse at the battery, we'll heat shrink all the connections, and then we will put conduit on it as close to the chassis rail out of the way of harm as we can. I've got the airlines mocked up for the filters. Got the wiring just loosely hung. I've actually got the wiring and the conduit ran from the front of the car as far back as I can. Now we have to bolt this thing in place and get it all plumbed up. While I'm in the tub, I will just show. So the Pirate Camp Co bolts there, the ARB on the other side sits probably about, I want to say maybe 6 inches higher, maybe 6 to 10 inches higher, something like that. So it's actually not that much lower. And then it is all very well protected behind the mud flap and all that stuff. So there's not a lot of mud and crap that gets in up there. We've got it all wired. So power wires drop down, run through the engine bay, along the chassis rail. The compressor sitting up there. I'll put the first bit of plumbing in for the air outlet. Trigger wire runs across there. I've still got to tidy all the wiring up and zip it out of the way. Air filter lines just loosely hanging down there. I came up with an idea. Now, I got the Pirate Camp Co filter relocation kit. This goes in behind the tail line. Whilst I was playing around with the Pirate panels, I ended up realising there was 2 grommets there. What I've done, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. I've got these diff breather style filters, some brass fittings. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and bolt them in so they sit in the tray like that. So with a little bit of luck, we'll be able to actually plumb these filters into the tray, and it saves having to take the tail light out and having to go through and put the bracket in. So we'll see if that works. Alright, so pull the panel out, and you can see I've just pulled the grommets out of the holes, and I'm pretty confident that's going to go perfect. I think this is going to be a win. So we got crap everywhere, but we got it worked out. So everything is still just loosely fit, but the air filters sit up out of the way, so I reckon that is the go. Them holes are too perfectly placed not to use them. Still got to tidy everything up. You see up there I think I ended up buying a 1.5 meter braided line because I couldn't get a meter. So I've got way too much braided line floating around, but we'll just zip tie that up out of the way so it's tidy. All the wiring, we'll just zip tie that out of the way. Trigger switch works. Everything is exactly how it should be. It's really hard to capture on camera, but the way the bracket sits, it is actually a lot higher than I thought, and it is a lot further out of the way. So it is a good design. I do like it. We're done. It has been a long time coming. Finally have onboard air. I cannot explain how happy that makes me. This has taken way longer than it ever should. Trying to get the ARB kit, eventually deciding to go with the Pirate kit. The availability of these guys, the service and Pirate, ARB, you know my thoughts on you guys. Let's have a look at this thing. That's compressor, all zipped up. Everything's tidied up. All I did is coiled that braided line up, zipped it up to the bracket, wiring, zipped it up out of the way. Like I say, the Raptor roof switches, triggers up out of the way. All I did was just basically follow the chassis. I think I ended up with about 6 meters of wire. I'll be the first person to tell you that I don't actually really rate ARB gear. There's some stuff they do that's exceptional that no one does better, like their dual compressors or just their single compressors. Realistically, somewhere in the early 2000s, that's where they sort of stopped, you know, like the N70 Hilux, like they were top of their game. They were making like the coolest, best stuff. And then the industry evolved and everyone just started making better stuff, and ARB stayed doing the same stuff and they've continued to do the same stuff. I know a lot of people say they just do what works. Yep, agree, it works, but I don't know, there's just some cool shit around nowadays. When it comes to the Raptor and getting the ARB compressor kit, I was like, this is the best option available. This is what I want. When I got stuffed around for months and months and months because I couldn't get it, that's when I started looking at what else is around. And Pirate Camp Co's brackets and the setup that they do is actually really good. That panel, just beautiful. My little air filter mod. One of the things with the ARB kits now is they actually come with a 6 meter hose. Now my air hose has actually blown out a few times. This is my original ARB air line from when I had a single compressor back in the Fortuna. So I guess the important thing is, can we actually reach every tyre from where the outlet is in the back of the tub? Yeah, not a drama there. Like I say, just take into account, my airline's about 1 metre shorter than it should be. So worst case, you can always get a 6 metre airline. Being a compressor install video, I suppose we probably should air one tyre down to 15 PSI and see how long it takes to pump up. You really can't beat these dual ARB compressors, they are quick. I guess the biggest thing everyone's going to want to know is this kit as good as the ARB kit? So what you've got to remember is the compressor is the exact same compressor. The only difference between this compressor and the ARB dual compressor designed specifically for the Raptor Ranger, or for the Rangers, is there's a slightly different manifold on it. So it's thinner and it sits in between the skin of the tub. How this sits, I reckon it's probably, I want to say maybe somewhere between 6 to 10 inches lower. Where the actual Pirate Camp Co bracket sits though, it's up, out of the way, behind the guard. If you look at where I've been, where I've gone, there's actually no mud or dirt up under there. So I'm going to say it's a safe location. So the things that I like about the Pirate kit better, the compressor just bolts to the bottom of the tub, so you don't have bolts exposed in the tubs or brackets exposed in the tub. If you look at the Go Explore rig, Damo's rig, the way the ARB kit sits is the bracket's actually in the front of the tub. It's still bolts, it's still tight, it's still clean. You don't really notice it. It is still a good install. This, I think it's better. I really like the Pirate Camp Co power panel. The air filters is probably the biggest concern. My little filter mod worked perfectly, up, out of the way, not obstructing anything, like they'll cause no grief. The Pirate Camp Co air filter relocation kit, definitely still a cool bit of gear, but for me, pulling the tail light out, ginning around, stuffing around trying to do that when you've got 2 holes that you've got to plug in the tray anyway, that just made more sense. Let me know, is my idea better than Pirate's idea for the air filters? Pros and cons. There's always pros and cons to everything. I want to hear your thoughts. As I'm sure most of you have seen my Pirate bracket videos, these things, they're just cool. I just love them. The power panel having the air outlet on it, it's the same thing. It just looks the part, like it looks cool. I think at the end of the day, I'm glad that I did the Pirate Camp Co kit. For me, I already got the chance to play with the ARB kit. I do really like the ARB kit. It is a good kit. I'll give you the honest pros and cons of it. The ARB kit is perfect. The way it bolts, the way it sits, the pre-done wiring harness, not having to build wiring harness, not doing any of that. It is literally just bolt in, plug and play, and that is unreal. Like, it's literally one connection for the trigger wire. In saying that though, wiring this, it was just a handful of connections with power wires. What I think makes it better is that I've got a straight line, so I've literally got compressor, wiring, battery. For wiring, it's just more direct, which I do like that. That's kind of good. If you want to put an air tank in, I'd recommend that you put the compressor on the driver's side, put the air tank on the passenger side, and then plumb to the power panel. The other thing that's worth mentioning too is this power panel, absolutely awesome, cool bit of gear. Love the way it sits, love the way it looks. You don't actually need it. If you wanted to, you could actually put the air outlet up in one of these holes, which means that if you wanted the compressor left or right hand side, you've actually got two of them holes on both sides of the tray. So it's quite easy to actually mount the air outlet anywhere you want in the tray. There's holes all through this thing that would take that air outlet. For me, I think that the Pirate Camp Co kit, I'm glad that I ended up going with that kit. Like I said, that's mainly because I've done the ARB kit already. Look, if I had to choose one, the Pirate bracket's cooler. I do like the Pirate bracket. I do like the Pirate power panel. I do like the fact that the power panel, air outlet, everything sits on that side. That's the way I would go again. In saying that, it doesn't take anything away from the ARB kit. The ARB kit is still unreal. Horses for courses, I guess it's all relevant to what you want to do. Keep in mind that if you do get the ARB kit, how I've got my jerry can holder, the air outlet may actually interfere with what crap you put on that side of the car. So I like that you've got all your power, your air outlets, all that crap on the same side. The Pirate gear looks a million times better than the ARB brackets. It is a shame that no one will ever see that Pirate Camp Co compressor bracket. It is just, it's a work of art. The laser cutting in it looks so cool, but it's just the way it sits, no one's ever gonna look at it. Anyway, that's enough of my babbling on. Either kit, you won't be disappointed. I think they're both great. For me, the Pirate one though, that's the clear winner in my eyes, just because of that power panel and the way it sits. If you're not gonna go that power panel, won't matter which kit you get. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Whatever, anything, feel free to comment it below. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, go Trup.